So did you actually more or less finish the book? I mean, was it just recently, or was
No,
it a few years ago?
you know, actually, as I was reading the uncorrected proof, and that Lizzie gets all excited about teaching this museum studies course, and because at the time I was writing it, which is, 10 years ago, I thought, what kind of class would I like to teach? And I thought, actually a museum studies course would be pretty interesting. I've now been teaching one for 4 years at Harvard, and so, the book comes out, the book has actually been done for more than 5 years.
It's part of your curriculum.
It is, it's part of my curriculum now. Yeah, though now Lizzie does some museum things too, which there's some places in this which will probably get some interesting discussion among my anthropologist and museum friends about what happens, for instance, to that bentwood box and the chilkat blanket and things that are going to be left back out on an island in the coast of Alaska, where they will deteriorate and be destroyed. There's that's a question of some interest in the anthropology world. Absolutely.
What is the natural lifespan? Is there artificial preservation?
Yeah.
Is that a valid thing to do?
And the fact is that those things, because they came from a gravesite, had they been in an American museum, would be eligible for repatriation under the federal guidelines of the Native American Grave Protection and Repatriation Act. Those things go back to the Tlingit, and the Tlingit make the decision about what happens with them. That's not the case for something that's coming from England, but it does raise some interesting questions. And I liked to be able to compare that to what happens to, here comes this heart back in this solid gold box with this enameled and jeweled stuff on it, which also has a monetary value and a cultural value, and none of them think, maybe we should donate this to the British Museum rather than tossing it into this.
They also have their financial problems.
That's
too.
right, that's right. They could sell it, here's this, that's right.
They get something for the heart too.
Yeah. Or pop the heart out, toss it into the grave, and sell the box.
It does come up though with the body they dig up of the original Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Which is this brilliant moment where she's seen in this outdoor sort of soft, dim light as looking beautiful and well preserved, and then you see her in under the floodlights, and all of a sudden she's horrible and scary.
I was basing that on these bog people that have been uncovered in the British Isles and in Denmark, and I don't know if you've seen the pictures of them, but they really are extremely. What's the word? I was thinking sort of creepy, but it is interesting that one can look at them and say, oh my God, look at how wonderful that is, and then as you begin to look closer, you realize it still is a corpse.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was an interesting thing to me that I respected Lizzie for and her family. As you said earlier, she did sort of hide away the things that she didn't want others to know about her family. They built the bronze plaque and hid the poems away. But then the finding her family's the heart and the body, and they carefully buried them in the tomb in their family's church. But then they didn't then go. I can't think of the word I'm using, but exploit the Pacific Northwest stuff. They did the same thing for their family. They brought it back to the family, and I wondered if had they not had a similar experience within their own family, if they would have made a similar decision.
That choice.
Yeah.
Well, and I tried to set up that juxtaposition because I think that for Europeans generally we think very highly of the remains of our own ancestors and often think very little of the remains of other people's, and so it really was to make that comparison that was part of the agenda.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I think is so interesting about this too is the juxtaposition between Northwest tribes and cultural historical England, because that is not a connection I ever really associate. You had England, all this history, crusades, all that stuff. Maybe you think a little bit of the East Coast and the Revolution and that kind of stuff from an American perspective. But I almost never, ever associate this sort of English history and the Northwest Coast and native tribes on that side of the world, even though they did spend a fair amount of time out there and they did go to the Hawaiian Islands. I mean, that's just sort of a totally different direction of thinking about those dynamics than all that was going on at this.
I thought about that a lot too when I was writing it, that the whole notion of Captain Cook and all these guys on this ship out along the coast of Alaska, and in opposition to that are these people sitting in this fabulous, luxurious home. And in fact, yeah, why does one make the choice to leave the comforts of home and set off into this, this unknown environment? And I think that, that's one of the elements of this family that I wanted to make sort of intriguing and wonderful, was that there is this willingness to put comfort behind.